you are looking for a fun DIY project that uses sustainable materials you can feel good about, our first guest has the perfect idea. We welcome to Afternoon Live Reclaim Specialist Rebecca Denham. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
As you're busy working, we're already in
Apologize.
action right now.
That's true.
So tell me about this reclaim and deconstructing industry, and how did you get into this kind of work?
Oh, absolutely. I have always had a background in construction. My father was a carpenter,
Cool.
so I've always kind of been around it. And I moved to Portland here almost 2 years ago, and I came to know about the deconstruction industry because I wandered into a reclamation facility for some reclaimed lumber to build my own shelf.
Sure.
So here I am.
And I was reading in our research about, we actually have a local ordinance that homes of a certain age can't just be torn down, they actually have to be deconstructed.
That's correct. Yep.
So there's a lot of work there.
Yeah, 1940 or older has to be
Okay.
deconstructed rather than demolished.
How do you go about doing that gracefully and kind of salvaging everything that you can?
Very carefully.
Yeah.
So attic to basement, anything that can be saved, we pull it, and it all comes back to different facilities for denailing and racking and organizing. So
That's so cool. And there are a lot of benefits besides just sort of the environmental aspect of it to using reclaimed materials, because some of this stuff, they just don't make it like that anymore.
no, it's absolutely true. And actually, the material that we do pull, this old growth, regionally, it's mostly old growth Doug fir.
Cool.
That was what was growing in the area.
Yeah.
Makes up less than 1% of the old growth lumber left.
Okay,
Yeah.
even more incentive
Yeah.
to reclaim things. So you have some cool examples to show us today.
Absolutely.
Let's start over here. What kind
Yeah.
of things do you have to show us?
So if you were going for kind of an industrial look with your shelf, you could use some salvaged brackets like these. To go with that, I have this really beautiful piece of 1x12. This wood in particular actually came out of a plank house that was built in the 1890s.
That is so cool.
But if that's not really your scene and you're looking for something a little more decorative, you could also use something that's called a corbel. It's a piece of architectural decoration that goes on the exterior of a house.
Right.
You could use this as a bracket as well for your shelf if that's a little more your
What a
style.
great idea.
Yeah.
Bring it indoors.
Something that not a lot of folks think about is using something called a stair tread. So this is the part of the stair that you walk on a staircase.
Okay.
It is actually a pretty desirable piece of wood because it's got something called clear vertical grain, which is this right here.
Let me turn it so the camera can
yes.
see a little bit better. I'll get this out of the way.
Sure. So I did kind of a before and after. This is what it looks like when it came off the staircase, and this is what it looks like after sanding.
It's beautiful.
So this clear vertical grain here is just indicative of where this wood was cut from the tree. So this was cut from the oldest part of the tree where the rings were closest together. But just always be sure if you're sanding paint to get a lead test kit first. You can get them online pretty easy.
Yeah,
So.
I didn't know that you could reclaim something like that
Yeah,
from a home.
absolutely, and it's a very beautiful piece of wood to use
Cool.
for shelving.
All right, and you have a project for us.
I do.
I am a novice at all of these things, so I'm trusting you as my coach today.
Absolutely.
What are we going to work on? We're going to make a shelf, essentially.
Yes, so using this really beautiful 1x8 material. Really briefly, fun thing about this material is it's considered rough cut. You can see the perpendicular marks. I know, I'm sorry, trying to show the crowd.
It's so pretty, though.
The perpendicular marks on the wood are actually from the saw marks when it was milled.
Oh, okay.
So it's called rough cut. That's just a more rustic piece of wood than a standard piece of material.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I brought in 3 different colors of stain
Okay.
so that you could see what they look like on the wood. So we'll grab our sponge brushes.
Okay.
And you'll just kind of dip.
Go for it.
And then kind of go in front here.
Okay.
And you just kind of put it on the material.
Okay.
Something like this takes a couple coats, but
Sure.
it's the sentiment of there's so many different kinds of stain that you can use,
Right.
different colors to achieve different looks. So it's just whatever is your
Is it hard to
style.
know, like in the moment right now where it's still wet, what the final color will be? I guess depending on how many coats you use.
It's true, yeah. So as it dries, it'll definitely settle into the wood itself.
Sure.
But it's really fun to experiment with different kinds.
Yeah. Okay.
And so then once the wood is stained, we're going to go ahead and attach the brackets. So I have actually pre-drilled holes.
Okay.
So hypothetically,
I'm gonna
we
move
can
my stain so I don't
Sure.
explode.
Yes. Good
Yeah.
idea.
Let's. I'm imagining all the ways it's going to go wrong. Okay.
No, you're doing great.
Okay.
So I have pre-drilled the holes. So hypothetically, we can line up those
Okay,
holes,
I
make it
see.
a little bit easier.
Yes.
And then we're going to grab our screws. It's important with the screws to make sure that they're not too long that they poke through the bottom of the board.
Right.
But they need to be long enough that they grab onto the wood.
Okay.
So I was going to kind of lead by example
Yes.
here. So you're going to go ahead and take your drill,
Uh-huh.
put the screw on it.
Okay.
You're gonna feed it right into that hole, hypothetically. And then, oh, where's the hole? And boom, bow.
So you kind of send it in on a bit of a diagonal. Oh my gosh,
just because
I can't
the
believe you're
top of the
handing me
bracket.
this.
No,
I'm
you're doing great.
nervous.
It's gonna be
Okay,
great.
okay. So
You feed it in
it's
an
going a
angle.
little bit of a diagonal, and then am I gonna push it the right way?
Yep.
Okay, okay, it's fine. Ooh, okay, I didn't break it.
She did
fine.
it.
Is it in?
It's beautiful. Look at she did it. So once the board
one
is
down.
you're doing great.
That screw will never come back out, but that's okay.
That's how it's meant to be. I was gonna just have us do one because this one's even trickier. If you feel
Yeah.
like going for it, you're more than welcome.
Because
to.
now that we've attached this, is it hard to get this exactly so?
It's just with the angle of the bracket here, it's gonna be a little bit trickier. But if
Okay,
you
do
want
you
to
think
go
I should
for
try
I
it?
believe in you.
Okay. Deep breaths, deep breaths. Everything is under control. This is kind of hard to do, though.
A little
okay,
bit.
Do you go sideways a little
Yes.
bit? Okay. Let's see. So now I'm, okay. Oh no.
You're doing great.
Is it gonna go?
Maybe. Maybe not.
It seems like
It wants to.
it wants to.
It aspires for it.
This is why you hire a professional. All right. Well, we got one down.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So then once the stain has dried and the brackets are attached, the final measure of putting it up on the wall requires these two tools over here.
Okay.
So the first is the stud finder
Stud
right there.
finder.
Yep. So you're going to hold that up to the wall. You want to attach the brackets to the stud behind the
Sure.
wall for strength and stability.
Yes.
So you'll hold that up onto the wall, you'll press the button. When it lights up, I mean, each one's a little bit different, but
Right.
when it lights up, it'll show you where that stud is, and
Cool.
that's where you're gonna wanna attach the bracket.
And then a level, of course.
Naturally, to make sure that nothing slides off your shelf. But yeah,
Measure before you cut or drill anything, always.
always.
Thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
I got one done. It's
Yes.
all right. I feel better.
I'm so proud of you.
We want to let our viewers know that you do have so many more ideas for using reclaimed wood, so we'll be sure to share a link to all that on our website at katu.com. We'll be right back with more Afternoon Live right after this.